Welcome to it, sports fans. It is the MKT Show. I am MKT, and hey, shout out Pat Faded. I mean, that as an opening track, it is loaded. It is loaded. Shout out to Pat Faded. A lot of people asking, hey, did you do did you drop those bars? Are you all that multi-talented? I am not. I am not even slightly talented. That is Pat Faded. Shout out my guy.
It's a banger.
It is a banger. It's what they call a club system banger. Yeah, I'm saying that sends us to how you doing, pal?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
Pat Faded, shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Got us grooving. It will catch you. The beat will even guess you into thinking you can rap.
You strike me as the guy who would do rap battles at break in school. Are you that guy?
No.
Do you remember? Did you ever go through that phase?
Well, because everybody watched 8 Mile.
Every single northern suburbs, and for those who don't know, in South Africa, northern suburbs is where the types of people like James and Senzo go to school. All of them watched 8 Mile and they thought
the whole world watched
my palms are sweaty. No, but if you're in the hood, it's like you were already doing it. It's the yuppie boys' schools guys who watched 8 Mile and they and they start what are you doing, pal? You got cricket practice in the afternoon. You're not from the hood.
They gave white guys confidence.
Not even white guys. Don't say that. Black guys in the northern suburbs must stop doing that. You're soft, and I'm one of them. You're soft.
Obviously, I ain't about that life.
But every black guy as well thought, yo, palms are sweaty. They're not. You're fine. You're going to Woolworths. Like we don't come.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And it's, by the way, organic. So like, don't do that. Hey, we went through that phase. Yeah, I'm saying, my man. We did. Don't lie. And I know you were one of those guys wearing a hoodie now at St. David's.
I was 12 when 8 Mile came out.
Yeah, and that's the worst age. That's when you think.
When you're
impressionable.
Wearing 3 different caps.
3 different caps, my man.
Plaster on your face like you're Nelly.
Oh, hey, shout out Nelly, dude. What was the no matter what you do or whatever? Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
That song for about a year. We were at Sun City when that came out. I will never forget.
They charted.
Nelly did all of it, hey?
Yeah.
Nelly did, what was the movie? The football movie in prison?
The Longest Yard.
Longest Yard.
With Adam Sandler.
Then he did music. Then he bought into a basketball team. He's, hey.
EI. Uh-oh.
Did that.
It was hot in here.
Did that.
Yeah,
he doesn't get enough credit because I don't think he came through like clean. Like Jay-Z's got that corporate thing,
but
right?
Jay-Z stayed, him and Snoop are able to stay relevant all the time.
Nelly's in business now, dude. I see him in the NBA. He's out here.
He's out there with Nick Cannon.
Now, how many kids last year? Nick Cannon?
4.
4 with 4 different women, obviously.
Yeah. So he's got 7 altogether.
7 kids altogether, huh? Why? Never mind.
He doesn't miss.
Incredible.
Straight shooter.
Incredible. Wow. All right. The only human being, again, one would listen to outside of your personal trainer, because it's summer now. This is the only person you should be listening to. His name, Fabrizio, I'm making the pasta with the mama, Romano. Breaking news, Jorge Mendes will talk with Juventus today. Cristiano Ronaldo was not starting versus Udinese because he wanted to look for options. While Mendes approached Manchester City, MCFC, Juventus wanted 28 million euros, 30 million euros fee for Ronaldo. Man City have no intention to pay. There's no bid yet.
A lot can happen in 3 days.
Wow.
But we should have known when Jorge flew to... Actually, we should have known yesterday when he got injured at training.
You should have listened to me 3 weeks ago.
You called it, eh?
No, I said it because I know.
You should go advise Juve. I should go handle Harry Kane's career.
Speaking of which, he's in a mess now because he's had to apologize.
He's not in a mess.
Well,
he just looks weak now.
What a mess! What a just handle.
They're never going to take him seriously.
He's stuck at Tottenham for the rest of his career because, like winners as well, you don't say yes and no. With Man City, that's the last time they'll bid for him. We got Haaland to deal with. Because we could have put this energy into Haaland, is what Man City will tell you.
Man City was smart. They're like, we see the mess that you've created. We didn't create this mess. You created it yourself. Like, this is the last bid. We'll distance ourselves because I can see where this is going.
You know who the next guy they need to get is? They need to be the ugly neighbours, and even though he'll never move, Marcus Rashford's the other Harry Kane. That's the golden child.
He's back in training, by the way.
That's the golden child. If whoever gets Marcus Rashford next, I think honestly, Jack Grealish, they've already got him.
Yeah.
If you can get Marcus Rashford and there's another guy at Arsenal called Bukayo Saka, they're the next guys.
Brilliant.
Okay, come on.
The thing is, now Kane must be careful now. He mustn't get injured while on England duty because once that armband shifts, they're going to say, hostile, it's a coup, bro.
The next one, Bukayo Saka for Man City. He's the next England kid. I'm telling you now. All right. But we got plenty to talk about. We'll talk Arsenal. In fact, we'll start off there with the Arsenal. We got Kerry Keating in today. And we'll do social media and much, much more. Really looking forward to that. The MKT Show coming up after this. You've done it. They call me the
You have done it.
My man. I deliver.
It's like breathing, eh?
Yeah, I'm saying.
It comes naturally.
No, it's just another day. Listen, I wake up every day. I get out of bed one leg at a time, just like everyone else. I'm redefining broadcasting, but I'm just another guy. Yeah, what I'm saying, my man. Keep it humble in the streets. That's what all the guys in the northern suburbs said after they watched 8 Mile. Hey, I'm on a street. Like, no, you're not. Your mom's
keep it real.
What do you mean keep it real? Your mom's picking you up in an SUV that's never seen dust anywhere.
Dude, you're going to a private school. That's it.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't. Your palms are not sweaty.
Nah, they probably are. Because you probably have to say an Afrikaans speech.
I'm speaking Afrikaans in my life, man.
Ah, man.
I've never... Can you explain man before we get into it?
How do I
it's a proverb. It's an African proverb.
Amen.
Amen. African proverb.
Whenever you're questioned by a teacher.
Yeah.
Amen. Where's your homework? Amen.
African proverb. That's what it has to be. You know, on those like Instagram posters. Man. African proverb, and you know the like
South
girl
African
sitting
proverb.
on the lake, like that peaceful lake. She's sitting at the end.
Chepu, get out my class. Amen.
All right, it lets people know what kind of school this guy went to. But it is very true. Folks, to my Caucasian friends, it's not Chepu. We've got to stop that nonsense. It's Tsepo. It's quite clear. It's a TS. I mean...
They can say... White people astound me.
Let's hear it.
They can say Tsitsipas, but they can't say Tsepo.
Chepu?
They can pronounce Gert,
Yeah.
but they can't say Gatebe.
You mean Radaby?
Redebi.
So it's unbelievable. But this is why we need each other. We need each other. Black people need white people. White people need black. Like I said, I don't want to go to a pool party with too many black people. All of you, it's too much swag. No swimani.
Overswagulate.
But if there's just white people, the problem is it's a swimming gala. I'm not doing it.
Now you're exercising.
That's what I mean. I want to have a good time. So black people, we need white people. White people, you need black people. You can't just have black friends only or white friends only. Otherwise, you'll never go for it. Not in this country. So mix up your social life.
So there's no gray area.
No. I love it. All right, dude, I want to talk about the Arsenal. And obviously, last weekend, they were embarrassed, to say the least. That could have gotten ugly.
It was men against boys.
It was, eh? Like, Pablo Mari, man, that was embarrassing because Lukaku ragdolled him.
Dude.
Ugh, no good.
It looked like Lukaku hadn't left the Premier League.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. That was so ugly for him, and for a professional defender to have to. Ugh.
Unai Emery got booed half-time and end of the game.
Yeah, that's not good.
And literally, when it rains, it pours.
But that's gonna happen. But I guess the thing about football today is that you're either in or out, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Arteta, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's getting hot.
What would you do if you owned Arsenal?
I would... Ketila. What's firing Arteta going to do?
Do they stick with him?
He's got no other option. I just want to know who's making the footballing decisions. Hey, Edu. Edu looks like such a clown now.
What's he up to? What's he up to? Like...
Taking his boy to Corinthians.
Who's that?
Willian.
That, like, also, what's with that signing? Why is that happening?
You know these Brazilian guys.
No good, huh? All right, let me tell you what I think what they should do with Arteta. Right, is that, look, man, if you're in a marriage for, let's say 20 years, right? You get in a marriage and you get divorced. It happens. Life's not perfect, right?
People change.
These things happen. But if you're in a marriage for 20 years and then you have 2 divorces immediately afterwards, you're the problem. Like, I want to tell you the truth, is you are the problem. And the worst thing, if you want to add to you being the problem, is that at some stage your friends are going to say these terrible lines, right? It is actually maybe you shouldn't have left your first wife. And that is when you know your life's fallen apart. Because
you've literally come full circle.
And when you get divorced, the reason you get divorced with someone, never ever get back with the person you got divorced from, by the way. The reason you left will always exist, right? The reality is this, folks. Sometimes, after 3 divorces, and your friends are telling you, maybe you should have stayed with your first wife, you know what you have to accept. Right? I'm just talking for guys. Maybe you're not the catch you think you are. Maybe you're not. You have to face this reality. Maybe you're not the catch you think you are. And the reality of this is this. Over the last 16, and I wrote this down, over the last 16 seasons, Arsenal's average position, right? Let me tell you right now, is 4th. That's over 16 seasons if you average out their finishing places over 16 seasons. So actually, you're not as big a club as you think. 16 seasons is good data. That's good data. That tells you...
It's a trend.
Like, it was a trend. It's a thing now. That's who you are. A trend is 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
16 seasons tells me Arsenal, you're 4th placed. But here's what's even more interesting. Over the last 5 seasons, your 6th is your average finishing place. 5 seasons is a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes in life, accept this, folks. You are not the catch that you think you are. But the reality is Arsenal need to face a problem. They are the problem. Because Unai Emery was the problem, but I saw him leave to a holiday resort And he went and won the Europa League.
Holiday resort.
Right? Villarreal is a holiday resort. He went and won the Europa League. All right, so he's not the winning problem. Now, I've kind of seen after you let Wenger go, problems. Okay, so they're not the problem. That was an embarrassment on the weekend. And I don't want to hear excuses about injured players because Gabriel, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Odegaard, Partey were there last season and you came 8th. So don't tell me they were missing and that's the problem. I saw you with all of those players and more and Willian and you had Danny Ceballos and you came 8th. So that's not, don't give me that excuse. I don't want to hear it.
It was weak from Arteta.
I don't want to hear it. But here is what you said, Senzo, and I think you made a good point, dude, is if you fire Arteta, you actually are resetting the clock. And that's not what you want to do because you know what that means. You've wasted the last 2 years. They were pointless.
Time and money, dude.
They were pointless.
Because now the guy that comes in after him is going to want to tear the whole thing down again.
So what they have to do at Arsenal, you have to keep him now. Like I've always said to people that go to like 3-4 years of counseling, why leave then? Why leave then? Like, you've gone through the counseling because actually, you know what happened? You should have fired Arsene Wenger 10 years before you fired him.
Don't give him so much autonomy.
But there's no free lunch in life, Chief. Arsenal's paying the price now for a terrible regime at the end under Wenger. Terrible.
And you could see, but like, you know, when Wenger kind of, where you see that Wenger kind of gave up. This is a guy that went invincible. And he was like, yeah, no, 4th place is okay. He was right. Look, Champions League's now more important than the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But you could see that he was slowly but surely.
I mean, you can't reset the clock because, listen, I kind of thought, and I went and checked the stats, right? I thought maybe it's a spending thing. Like maybe Leicester are outspending Arsenal. In the last 16 years, and the data is there for everyone to go and see, Arsenal have spent the 5th most in England. So it's not a spending thing. You're still spending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know my thing is with Arsenal? They're seeing what other people are doing. So via like marquee signings. Oh, at United they've got this keeper situation. Let's go get Ramsdale.
What's he doing for you?
And he's got a clause in his thing saying that the transfer fee goes up.
Yeah.
If he becomes the number 1 keeper. So,
but here's my thing. There's something called a sideward step in life, right? What is Ramsdale doing for you that Leno doesn't?
Honestly, that's what I said last week. I said these signings, Arsenal aren't any better.
That's you, dude. And I just want that to sink in for Arsenal.
Look at the moves that Tottenham are making.
Tell them. Romero's there.
They signed Saar yesterday.
Ismaila, or what's the guy's name?
What's his?
No, the other Saar.
Saar, yeah.
So
and then
Saar's a little bit like Mendy, hey, in West Africa. You just like everyone gets you 5 West African guys, you're the Mendys. It doesn't even matter what your real surname is. Now Saar's another one.
And Tottenham have started talks with Juventus over a possible $55 million move for Weston McKennie.
Daniel Levy is proper, hey? People who said Tottenham didn't have money, you're lying. Not with Levy running it like that. Levy, So
and even with the Kane thing, they're like, don't worry about it.
It's incredible what happens when you run things well. Daniel Levy, love him, hate him. He's the guy you want owning your club. He is not the guy I want to negotiate against.
Yeah. Gives you nothing.
Oh my God. Arsenal.
That guy told Florentino Perez the figure is 100 million euros.
For a guy who actually, I like Gareth Bale, player of the season once, but so does Riyad Mahrez have that. Riyad Mahrez didn't go for 100 million. Like Riyad Mahrez won player of the season and won the league. Gareth Bale, all he did was win player of the season. He hadn't really done it. And he said 100 million from Real Madrid.
And they built him a stand. He was the first 3 centi million player.
Yeah. No, Gareth Bale's... listen, Levy's a different guy, right? But here's the thing as well. And I don't know if you've had this in your life. You know which guys are the most interesting humans to me? Mm-hmm. There's certain people, and I think above 30. Because in my 20s, we're all a mess. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to impress our friends. But by the time you hit 31, 32, you must know what you are. For me, if you're a playboy, right, I have no problem with that. But it's when the playboy tries to be the
Rebrand.
or the worst for me is if you're a playboy and you still have that mindset and you get a girlfriend and you're still living the playboy life and you're complaining about her, I don't understand why you want that stress. If you're a playboy, be a playboy, dog. Don't apologize.
Yeah, and it's unfair on the other person.
If you're the marriage type, don't try and be a playboy. Because I also know those people, right? Like who think they're about their life. And actually, Chief, if you like to be at home on a Sunday watching Generations Omnibus, I've got no problem with that. Stick to doing that. Don't try and be about their life.
Midlife crisis. They say you're acting out now.
Because people are acting out. My point is this. Arsenal must decide what they are.
Yeah.
Stop, like, you're City, Madrid, Chelsea, PSG, playboys. We know that. They're out here. They'll bid for your guy. They'll take your manager. Chelsea fired Mourinho twice. Come back. Go. Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti, in the space of 10 years, you have the same manager twice. It's impossible. But playboy life. Arsenal must know what they are. Whenever we thought of Arsenal back in the day, it was classy. It was, everyone said the class establishment. Wenger, Hillwood, the great Peter Hillwood, one of the greatest administrators. You know what I mean? You knew, who was it, the Keswater family or whatever it was before?
Keswater, yeah.
We knew. Quiet, they move in silence, they're the class club. Everyone's always said that about Arsenal, which is why you never heard them complain about having the highest tickets sales in the world because we're the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Now, what are they doing? Buendia, and that's a mess.
They've lost their identity. It's not the same Arsenal.
I'm just saying, if you're a playboy, do your thing.
But what do you think the problem is at Arsenal?
Culture. What you've got to do is, you know what the problem. Fikile Mbalula, I can't believe I'm saying this. Fikile Mbalula has the best advice Arsenal should have heard. When he spoke, Arsenal should have listened. And what does Fikile Mbalula say to Bafana? You have to do this. Senzo, I'll give you the stage.
There are a bunch of unbearable losers. The mediocre that is displayed. I mean, even Tottenham, they don't believe.
That's exactly what he said. A bunch of losers. But if you abide that, like we live in South Africa. I love Bafana. I'm South African. There's nothing I can do about that, you know. Exactly. But I've accepted Uti. It's mediocrity,
what I heard.
Yes, that's so true. But one thing mediocrity does, it lau heard. But mediocrity is
you know where you stand.
And the thing about mediocrity is once you allow it to seep in, it's only downhill from there. There's no hope from being mediocre. Once you decide I'm mediocre, and it's not for everyone. Listen, being driven is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Once you allow mediocrity in, though, in a culture, in a company setting, if your personal life, you allow mediocre people around you, all they're going to do is drag you down because they'll find problems.
Because misery loves company, my man.
And Arsenal, when they were at their best, Arsene Wenger was a shark, dude. He was cutting people.
Yeah.
Then he started, after the OGs left, he started signing Diabys and Jack Wilshere and tolerating season after season of injury.
Guys smoking.
Ian Robben, right? One season, he was basically the player of the season in the league. He started showing injuries. The next season, Jose Mourinho got rid of him.
Went to Madrid.
Listen, I was living in London.
He played in Madrid.
I was living at that time in London, right? Ian Robben was unplayable. I watched that live. Him and Damien Duff. I was there for that second season.
It was ridiculous.
They were unplayable with Drogba up front, Lampard. It was insane what they were doing. Next season, Jose Mourinho said, because Ian Robben, right, famously didn't play unless he was fully fit. So he would not play with a knock. Robben's well known.
Slight niggle.
Mourinho said, Nkrench.
Sure.
So it lets you know, Arsene Wenger, I don't know if you hear about that life, but the real problem is mediocrity, dude. Culture is everything. Culture is everything.
But that comes from the top.
1,000%. 1,000%. You can't let Leicester have a better recruiting agency than you do.
But look, Leicester are doing what Arsenal should be doing.
Leicester are doing what Man United should have been doing the last 5 years.
Exactly.
Elite operation. And you know what Arsenal's issue is? They're trying to catch up with everyone else.
Yes, so they're reacting to what other guys are doing.
Rather than being proactive, right?
Exactly.
And you can see that when we talk about the blue chip companies. Microsoft, I've never heard Microsoft saying, oh, I like what Apple's doing. Apple saying, no, we're doing what we're doing. We're releasing
Amazon.
And how many times do you hear people complaining, Apple, this update sucks.
But they're still going to get it.
No, this is what we're doing. You'll learn to, I've never heard Elon Musk saying...
Adapt or die.
I've never heard Musk saying, I like what Mercedes-Benz are doing.
They don't suggest.
Have you seen how disgusting his SUVs look?
He's Iron Man.
They sold out. I was talking to somebody in Sweden. I said, "Are you going to get it?" Because he's got like 4 Teslas.
It's the most valuable car company in the world.
It's sold out. Have you seen how disgusting that SUV is?
That's
Elon Musk is not going around asking, "Hey, what do you guys think?"
exactly.
I'm making it. Plus, my car can dance. By the way, not sure if you've seen that with Teslas.
Sure.
So Google Tesla dancing,
Doing
real
the
thing.
most.
He's put that in. That's a bunch of nerds sitting, going, "Okay, we figured out everything.
We're going to make your car dance."
And that's for us. You know when nerds get going, is that's not for the customer. Is this car can dance and no one knows? We know about it.
That's a different kind of flex, eh?
So if you at home, of course, after the show, Google Tesla dancing, real thing, Elon Musk, shout out.
So if you're stuck in traffic...
No, you got because you got to be playing music, and then you open the doors, and you'll see it.
Best believe.
It moves to the rhythm, yeah.
In a roadblock.
You're doing it. Hey, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing there's no Teslas in South Africa because...
Oh, it would be wilding.
No, black people, we move different. Like you're saying, already listen to your suggestion. You know,
by swag.
In Sweden, they know you park the car and you dance once you are around your friends drinking gin and tonic. With us, they don't know us. We'll do it on the highway. If my car can dance, here, emzansi.
It's
Faka
over.
mapiano zishe once.
It's late.
Imagine. Bathi zwakala ukuphi? N1. Kanjani?
Ngijava go roadblock.
It's fun that, you see, your mentality is why we should not have Tesla in South Africa yet.
Aye.
That's gotta be right, guys. We must accept South Africans, there's a hand and we are out of it.
We're unhinged.
Is South Africa the best place to live in the world?
Bro. What are you going to do?
Dude,
when now can be now until.
Now, you've had sort of global relationships before. I have tried to explain to my ex-girlfriend from Slovakia just now.
Right now.
The concept doesn't make sense. You know, it's like, no, time, we have a clock. Numbers are definite, 1 to 12. We've already done the hard work. Maniti, just now, where does that fit in? See you in a bit. There's no see you in a bit in Bratislava. Like, I'll see you...
at said time.
But South Africans, guys, we've changed calendars. Batuzanin, ay man, ilanga malshona. Kanjani? We've cooked. When was it cooked now? Ilanga malshona nini? Because
imagine. I'm not sure, but maybe. You know black people.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure got dangas.
Yeah, but we'll also say yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, eh?
That's the opposite. Yes is yeah, no is...
paradox. Or oxymoron. One of the two. You haven't.
One of the two. St. David's tough. Not the top level education, you know what I mean?
But, hey.
It's because you guys were rapping at break.
Oh my goodness.
Shouldn't be rapping at break.
Apparently, here's a fun fact.
Let's hear it.
Apparently, Eminem writes an iambic pentameter.
All right, that does bring you back a little bit. Stop rapping at break, guys. Especially when you're in a private school. Your parents spend too much money for you to think you're a little pump. You're not. Stop rapping at break. Go eat your little organic sandwich with obviously your German bread and obviously your smoothie. Right? Stop rapping. If you're in a private school, stop rapping. And also, I'm a Tesla. Elon Musk, don't bring Teslas to South Africa. We ain't ready for that. Because Jaive roadblock. All right. We've got plenty coming up. After this, we'll get into a little social media, the MKT Show. See you in a bit. Please join our Super Brew. That's how I'm bringing the show back. You know what I mean? I'm advertising, I'm bringing the show back. 2 pears with one still. Speaking of which, let's get into that. I don't know what your parents are like, but my parents are from rural South Africa where there's still no running water in my parents' house where they grew up, on my mum and my dad's side. But they have the most ridiculous, like, Oxford sayings of all time. Is that a black parents thing? The fox, dude. Yeah, don't be a fox and a rabbit in a hole. What?
The early bird catches the...
That. Where did they get that from?
Make haste while the sun is up.
Yeah, but it's always like strange ones as well. Like, the cockroach is on the other side of the hill. What does that mean? It's time to eat. What? But so it's not just my parents, eh? So it's a black parents thing where they've got those ones that are not even being used at Oxford anymore.
They speak George's English, coming with idioms.
So it's a black parents thing, eh?
Oh boy.
It's not just mine. Yeah, they love that. They need to stop trying to trap us with that whole thing. Now, big news. Arsenal did win yesterday. Somebody sent me a message in the break. They beat West Brom. Shout out to them beating a Premiership, a Championship team. Your thoughts, Arsenal?
Firstly, they shouldn't have been playing yesterday.
That's what happens when you don't make Europe, though. You know what I'm saying, my man?
You're qualifying for the...
It started at West Brom, 6-0. Guys are saying Aubameyang's back.
Tennis score.
Aubameyang, yeah. That's on the streets right now, as you guys would have said at break. It's
on a Wednesday.
Streets. We're on the streets. Arsenal. What do you do? What do you do? Did you ever watch the Maleven documentary?
Me, I'm crime. What can I do?
I love crime. All right.
Exactly, high check.
I put hot shower.
Show it your firstborn.
Yeah. Put knife here. Make example.
Come out flat. You don't give me.
Gonna give us.
You'll give me. We want the money. What can we do?
I love crime. You know who the real bad man, the road man is? Is Maleven's side guy.
The hype man.
He had the guy.
I got the...
When Maleven's like, I put knife here, make example. You're not gonna give us. Gonna give us. That's all he says.
You don't give me. You'll give me.
Yeah. Maleven, one of the baddest humans to ever walk the planet.
That guy's unhinged.
And very, very dead now. So RIP to Maleven after his crimes and hijacking.
It's dead, my man.
Yeah. No, he died a real death, Maleven. But hey, shout out to him. He maybe somebody should have made t-shirts, Maleven t-shirts.
Guys, they should have given him a movie.
Louis Theroux, dude, unbelievable, that guy.
And that guy will go in.
Have you seen Going Clear?
On which one is that?
Scientology. He's made 2 of those. Going Clear, that's your next
And he's
mission.
not afraid to offend people.
No. He's making documentaries. He's just made a new one, Going Clear. Unbelievable stuff. Louis Theroux, sensational. All right, let's get into some sport. What we got in the socials there, Paul?
Well, my man.
Oh, breaking news. Before we get into that, Sky
Fernando.
Sports, a sport that nobody actually really watches. It's called Formula One, but we'll get into it because there's lots of good-looking girls, so they do trick men with that. And Fernando Alonso will extend his Formula One career into 2022 after Alpine took up the option on his contract for next season. Good call, good experience. Fernando Alonso, you're gonna sell some merch, great hair, handsome face, very Spanish.
Great driver.
Hablo España. You know what I'm saying?
Yo soy español. Yeah.
Great driver, you say. Are you into the Formula One?
Yeah. That guy can drive.
I don't like Formula One anymore. Number one. So I went to Formula One when I was younger. My dad, huge Formula One. So I went to Italy.
Monza or Imola?
Yeah, Monza.
Imola's in San Marino.
Not for me. But the cool thing was the noise. Now the cars are quiet. What the hell am I watching for? My biggest advice for Formula One.
Emissions, boy.
Water the pitch. And people say a racetrack. I say water the pitch.
Speaking of which, I hope there's more drama. Eh? The 3rd installment.
What, this year? What's happening? Alonso, or no, who's in the drama? Verstappen.
Verstappen and Hamilton.
I like Hamilton and I like Verstappen. He's a new kid on the block, a little bit cheeky. But Formula One, Snorefest. Don't let Bernie Eccleston leave.
But the last 2 races,
It's a Snorefest, dude.
action packed.
Water the pitch, right, and put some noise back in the cars.
And put some oil.
No, do something. Like it is a Snorefest because unless you're on the inside, it's very difficult to enjoy.
There are too many rules now.
Just bring Bernie Eccleston back. He knows how to create drama. The Americans, I see what they're
look
doing.
at his life.
No, but he's perfect.
He's not perfect.
He went to Brazil, stole animals. By the way, you ever seen Bernie Eccleston's house in Brazil?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Where he's got all the exotic birds. He had a tiger at his house.
He's got like a 2 or 3 year old, and his oldest daughter's like in their 60s or 70s.
You seen Bernie's wife that he had a baby with? Brazilian model, I think she is.
Hey, bro, you can look like a shoe, but money. You're not ugly. You're just broke, bro.
Imali ngesixhosa kuthiwa
Imali yakhe yezani?
well, that's Zulu. Is like vasimal to say, it cleanses that skin. Bernie Eccleston, shout out to him. Bring him back to Formula One. It's a Snorefest of a sport. Unless I'm watching, put some water on the freaking
When it
pitch.
was him in Briatore.
That's drama. Like, you know what it is. One thing that, because Formula One has grown now, obviously, because the Americans do things right. Mm-hmm. But what they've done is sanitize the whole thing. Is you're supposed to make it the Premier League. But now they're squeezing it. They're turning it into a motor car. Or what's the American one?
NASCAR.
NASCAR.
Oh.
That's what it is. Round and round. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Don't you find it funny that Heineken sponsors Formula One?
Heineken.
Yeah.
You shouldn't drink drive. I hear what you're saying there.
No, thanks. I'm driving. Have one, Nico.
Listen, I did watch Nico Rosberg covering the last race. He's awesome because he doesn't talk like a TV presenter. So he goes, oh, that was terrible. You're not supposed to say that. He goes, oh, that was terrible. Lewis will get him next lap. Or like, I love that.
World champion, my man.
And he's doing it. Have you seen his Instagram page?
Living his best.
Get out of here. The blonde hair as well. And a friend of mine was in Ibiza recently, saw him in Ibiza, snapped a photo. He said they hung out, cracked a couple of beers, no problems.
But I thought he was driving.
No thanks, he says. What does he say?
No thanks.
9 danke.
9.
He probably has a German one, hey?
Yeah.
9 danke. And he's doing it, dude. Living the bachelor dream, that guy. Absolutely doing it. All right, well, what we got in the socials, pal?
So, continuing from yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Drive to Survive Season 4. Now, my problem is this. I bought Netflix. You'll see, tweet coming out from Formula One. Drive to Survive Season 4 confirmed, coming to the screens in early 2020 with the popcorn thing. I will not be taking any popcorn out. Haven't seen Season 1 even.
What? It's awesome.
Is it good?
It's awesome.
Well, the sport puts me to sleep. Do something to keep me watching the sport.
Do you know what's funny? Everybody is stressed except Toto Wolff.
Toto's doing it though, hey?
Cool, calm and collected.
So is it worth it? Because if I'm going to invest time, and by the way, there's a whole lot of people on set here. A lot of people won't see them. But if I watch it, by the way, I will not be happy with you if I wasted my time. And I will let people on the show know that Senzo said I must watch it. And if it's trash, it's your fault. And you're probably going to have to do 100 push-ups or something. Or there has to be consequences.
It's fine. But
you're willing to take that? So there's got to be something.
You'll enjoy it.
All right, if I hate it,
Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, my. Australia have a bezer.
He's a boychi.
Is he? And he's Australian. He's good looking. I like guys like Daniel Ricciardo. Good looking. Plus, I'm good at something. You're not going to tell me anything.
You already sound like him.
Oh, my mate. Because he was at Wimbledon with David Beckham.
Yeah?
I don't know if you saw that.
Who?
Daniel Ricciardo. Next to David Beckham. Rocking the suit.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
That's my guy. Daniel Ricciardo is my guy. I'm very handsome and I'm very good at something that you'll never be able to do. Plus, I'm hanging out with David Beckham. No ugly friends in my circle. Shout out Daniel Ricciardo.
You actually sound exactly like him. So imagine him and Verstappen. Oil and water.
That's a good point. That's why you had to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, no, because Verstappen drove into the back of him.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. If you're handsome, you better make sure you can drive. You can drive fast enough to get away from people. People hate handsome people, dude. That's a real thing. Hey,
if you're rich or good looking, you can get away with most things in life.
And people don't like you. If you're handsome or rich, I mean, that must be tough for you.
And you're a fantastic footballer, like Ronaldo.
What if you're handsome like you? Your childhood, very, very tough. Lots of people don't like you. It probably hasn't changed in life. You're still handsome now. That must be tough.
Some people probably think I look like a toughie.
Like the school shoe?
Yeah.
Is that because you're dark, or what do you mean?
No. Some people probably think I'm ugly. No, ugly school shoes are a toughie.
What?
Grasshopper.
I had the black grasshoppers. I didn't go toughie. High school, I went grasshopper.
From grade 8 till...
Yeah. I went grasshopper.
Hey, because like grade 8, you hit like toughie. And then you get to like grade 11. Hey, then you see people start putting out the executive.
Yeah.
Kick and forwards.
But that's at some schools. Did you have guys see in our school? It was kind of the grasshopper movement came in. They tried to squash it, and then it was just like no.
It was a revolution.
Because also where I was is there's a lot of farmers there, so the farm boys kind of like the Falskun look with black shoes.
Yeah.
So they couldn't fight their movement. So eventually they just like gents, at least it's black. So I went grasshopper early as well. Like
hey, you saw it, eh?
You know what? I think I've always just had like a rebellious side to me, and they had a problem with it. But I'm like, guys, Buffett, you know what I mean? So Daniel Ricciardo, let's go, bro. All right, social media. What do we got? No one cares about Formula One. I'm over it.
Oh, yes, Cricket South Africa.
Yes.
Proteas assistant coach Enoch Nkwe has sadly stepped down with immediate effect.
Full statement. Wow.
This is like the T20 World Cup is right around the corner.
Okay, so here's this tweet. Cricket South Africa official CSA. Proteas assistant coach Enoch Nkwe has sadly stepped down with immediate effect. Thank you for the years of service as you continue to be an inspiration to young cricketers and coaches. He has done incredibly well. Good player in his time. So what's the story?
Apparently him and Boucher...
him and Mark Boucher not getting on.
Yeah, it's deeper than rap, eh?
See, that's tough because now we're starting to... The ugly side of South African cricket with the boys club is starting to come out of exactly what it was like for black players to play with sort of the Graham Smith era.
You see.
And that's ugly because now, let's face it, Graham Smith's actually doing a good job, but Boucher's his boy. We know that.
Yeah.
You know, is... So I'll be honest with you. I know the fitness trainer who was with the Proteas then. It was the biggest nightmare ever because Smith and his boys, as we saw, always overweight. And she was trying to instill a culture in there. She said it was the biggest nightmare ever.
Yes, like,
because
imagine
for
trying
Cullis,
to tell these guys.
Boucher,
probably sit there.
And now it's coming out that, there were songs that made black players uncomfortable. That's coming out. The environment was...
Makantini...
heartbreak.
That was sad, eh?
But listen, you know, we're a young democracy. Is these kinds of things... People are going to have to deal with it now. And you're trapped now because Graham Smith, for all of his sins, is doing a good job. You need to... what the CSA don't want to do is they know how bad it was without Graham Smith is he's given them some direction. Yeah. Really what you want to do is probably ask Graham Smith what happened, and you can't really because he's on your side.
It's controversial. Yeah.
And now Mark Boucher's his boy. We saw how they pushed Cullis out the door. So, Cricket South Africa, another just...
But shout out to Ndini because, like, you never really saw it, like, you didn't bring that to the field.
Yeah.
The morale was always the same and whatever.
Clapping, keeping it... Yeah, listen, you know, people don't want to hear it, but Makhaya Ntini took all the arrows for every single black player who's come because
absolutely.
He was alone in that, what we're now seeing, how toxic it was, everything coming out.
Yes.
He had to swallow all of that. I mean, for him to be saying everyone thought he was fit, that's why he was running to other stadiums from practice to hotels. He said, no, because I didn't want to be in the bus.
I didn't want to be in that environment.
I didn't feel welcome. So, hey, listen, the only way to make progress is to go through the pain. So... Sorry, you can't be comfortable forever. And it's uncomfortable for everyone, black and white. But hey, you want change, you got to be okay with uncomfortable.
Can I read a short paragraph from media release from CSA?
Let's hear it.
It goes, while every effort was made to retain his services, Enoch has decided to focus on personal growth and professional development. This affords him the opportunity to return to the system in the future with a sense of himself and being certain of the direction of his career. He has emphasized his unwavering commitment to South African cricket and especially to the men's team as they embark on a key tour to Sri Lanka in preparation for the T20 World Cup. The board engaged with Enoch to explore whether there was a way to retain his services, but this was unsuccessful. During these discussions, he also raised concerns about the functioning and the culture of the team environment.
Boy, oh boy. Because here's the problem, is that Boucher is like, we are who we are. This idea that people change, people don't change. I'm sorry, I'm so sick of hearing people saying he's changed. People don't change. You are who you are. At the very core, you can change your tendencies, you can change, you can improve behavior. I was a delinquent in my 20s. Like, I'm a little bit better now. I just stay away from the delinquent life. I haven't changed. I just don't put myself in environments where I'm
You
going to
know-
be a
you know
disgusting
better.
person. You know, people don't change. Like if you put people in environments that appeal to that core side of them, they'll do that. It's
Because
like,
change is uncomfortable. as
listen,
well.
if somebody's a drug addict, you don't invite them to a party where there's drugs and think they're going to stay off it, right? Stay at home.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Voucher's voucher, and boys will be boys.
But this is the last thing you need, eh?
Listen, change is not easy. We must get over it as South Africans. Voucher,
Change
you have
is
to go through it.
inevitable.
And we'll see which way we go. I mean, yeah. All right.
man.
What else you got, Paul?
Let me just get out of this one. Oh, yes. Now, remember we had breaking news.
Yes.
Serena Williams
Yes.
pulling out of
US Open.
US Open.
Oh, man. That's huge.
I see that number 24 is elusive, eh?
Listen, I know she wants it more than the world needs it. Is like, Serena, you're an all-timer. Don't worry about it. I know it's more for her than the rest of us, I think.
But also, for the establishment.
Yeah, I guess. But you know what? I think we don't care about the establishment now. Like Serena, Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, LeBron James, Michael. Like there's a special place for them in sporting.
They're on the Mount Rushmore.
She's already in. Like Serena, you don't need to do more. Like I honestly, I know it's a big thing because of ego. You've redefined the shape
She's done
of how we consume tennis. Like her and Tiger changed ratings on their own. Like that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And
Especially coming from where she's from, Serena.
no, it's
Straight out of Compton.
And you know what? It's tough to say this. Like, you know, sometimes as black people, when you get new heroes in spaces where you weren't, our temptation is to put it all on them. Like, okay, enough black people. Serena's done enough now.
Yeah.
Like let's take the foot off the gas. Like, you can't. She's only human.
But you know who's kind of assuming the mantle now?
Who's that?
Naomi Osaka.
I can't stand
But
her.
I
cannot stand her.
because we're looking for the next Serena.
And
request.
Osaka doesn't.
And there won't be another one.
And in fact, she doesn't because she's not willing to take the pressure. Serena took.
Imagine
Imagine in the late 90s and noughties, the kind of things that were being said to Serena's face.
And Serena, her style is very
No, she's about
out there.
and she's hood.
Yeah.
So Osaka will never compare because Osaka is middle class.
timid, eh?
No, she's middle class. Serena comes from the hood. No. We mustn't do that. Osaka's already out of the conversation. She is not, for me, no.
But she's been stuck on 23 for a while now.
Nah, Kyle, Serena, you've done
Making
enough.
fun.
No, she's done enough.
I like how the media made it a thing between her and Sharapova. How can you be someone's rival when you've only beat them once and Serena's beaten you like 19 times?
No, man, it's not a rivalry. That's just you can.
It ain't a thing.
Like you don't have a pool at home. Come swim at my house and go home. That's what Serena's saying. No, come on now, Serena, you've done enough. You're the queen. There is only one queen.
I don't think she chills with anybody on the WTA tour.
Come on, man.
She goes, I'm going to go talk to
my sister. She's got 8.
Roger and Rafa and them.
No,
The 2020 club.
she's different. Serena Williams, I just want to say this to her, is that you don't do more. Serena, I want you to relax. Whatever relaxes you. You want to play? Play. You don't want to play?
Her last Grand Slam she won, she was pregnant.
Don't play. Folks, Serena, you've done enough. The MKT Show. Plenty coming up. By the way, on the other side, we got Kerry Keating. He's coming up on the other side. We'll talk all things. Man, it is popping off in America right now. I cannot wait to have the coach come on, and we're going to discuss, hey, college, people are pulling out of vaccines and transferring, and it's all happening. The MKT Show. See you after this. Congratulations. That's big broadcasting, Senzo. You can't deny it.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, I'm saying, my man. That's the way to bring people back. Congratulations. Right? All around. You're listening, you're watching. You know, you got to redefine broadcasting one step at a time. Listen, we got a big guest, and we're going to get to him. But breaking news from the Premier League world, Kurt Zouma has just moved. Give us some details there, Senzo.
He's undergoing a medical at West Ham. So I think there was talk of it being a loan.
Yep.
But I think the figure is around 30 million euros, about 25 million pounds.
Yep.
And I think there's a buyback clause.
Yeah, right move.
Because that deal was on the brink of stalling. And yeah, they got over the line. And also other breaking news, Scott McTominay is going to be out for some time. He's undergoing surgery on his groin.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Now you got to play Fred and Matic.
Nope. Now we can buy Kamavinga or Saul.
All right. I mean, let's get to someone serious. I mean, I thought we were having a grown-up conversation.
We are.
You got Donny van der Beek. Get the hell out of here. Hey, here's Van der Beek's chance. Can he play in the 6th role?
Spend the cash.
Kamavinga.
Go get him, Ed.
So, what was the thing back in the day? Fergie. Sign him up. Fergie,
sign the deal.
Yeah.
Fergie, sign the deal.
All right, it's not happening. Let's move to somebody who actually takes themselves seriously. Hey, Senzo's popping off in America right now. It is popping off in America right now. Hey, it be lit, fam. All right, somebody who would never use those terms, I hope, because he's worked in the NBA as a coach, as a scout. There's nothing he hasn't done in the NBA. Let me not to do that boring television thing where they give you the guy, like you don't have Google, right? Let's bring him in, the one and only Kerry, the coach, Keating. Coach, what are you saying to me? How are you? How's America?
Things are good. Things are good. As you said, it's popping over here. Well, if there's a lot of stuff going on, that translates to popping. I'd say yes, and it depends on if you're on the right side of that fence right now, because there's a lot of things happening that are either good or bad, depending on what school you go to in college.
Oh yeah,
and certainly, obviously, with the reemergence of the Delta variant, we've got a few more things to deal with now in terms of mask wearing going on again. So yeah, it's now affecting collegiate athletes. So it'd be interesting to see how the new school year shapes up as we get ready to get started out here this week.
Now, we're going to get to that. As I saw you now, we didn't really see you in this sort of profile last year. Two things immediately strike me. Let's start off with the personal thing on you. Because, I mean, you got the salt and pepper beard. Could be George Clooney. That's cool. That's awesome. Good for you. How are you in the shape you're in right now? Because I know you have a family, and I know a lot of people my age that are single and have all the time in the world, and they are carrying a tire in the midsection. What sort of workout plan are you on? How is it possible?
Interesting question. I just hit the magic number 50 last month.
Are you 50?
Trying to. I am now 50. Yes.
That's impossible. You have a jawline. Look at you. You look unbelievable.
Well, a little to my left right here, I have the Peloton Plus bike.
Yes.
I got the set of dumbbells up to 50 there, and then TRX straps that we're getting ready to put into our new garage in our house. Just try to stay fit, more so just to keep the heart healthy, keep the brain sharp, keep the day broken up. But being around coaching, I think for all those years and forever, and being inside gyms, it's just kind of natural to stay fit and stay proper. I'm fortunate to have a wife that eats healthy. We're certainly not adverse to getting some pizza and eating a lot of pasta. But I will say this though, and the one thing that I have realized in light of what's happened here with COVID is that it's actually forced better eating habits because you're kind of in more control of that at home as opposed to working and traveling and just kind of fitting in where you can while you're on the road. And I'm actually back down. Wasn't overweight, but back down to my end collegiate weight where I was 30 years ago. So pretty proud that I hit that at 50 and just trying to stay that way.
Now, you've made a good point there about the coaches thing, and this is something I've taken very seriously. So my mother is a medical professional, and so she's got a rule, right? So she's she's a boisterous character. Let me just say that at the best of times, but she refuses to ever let. When I was a child, we weren't allowed to go to a doctor that was overweight. Like, she refused. If a doctor's overweight, she would take us out of there. And she's a doctor, so she, like, is, and that's kind of stuck with me. Something I've always wondered for me is I love the NFL, and I mean, I'm not saying you're saying this, but I have a problem with when coaches are overweight because, like, mentally for you as a coach, did it never set a tone for your team? It's like how you present, the leadership becomes the team, does it not?
I think so. In football, American football, that is, very interesting that, there's all different shapes and sizes in that game now. And those linemen on both sides of the offense and defense, they have some girth to them. They have to do a job to block people from getting through. Obviously linebackers and edge rushers have a little bit of speed and strength. So you need a little bit of heft to keep them from getting to the prize and the quarterback. But a lot of those guys really understand the game really well, and you do see a lot of them move on to be coaches at the highest level, even in college. I've never been and never played or worked for a coach that was obese or overweight, if you will. But I think there is something to that. I think especially now, you want to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk, if you will. And not to say that you have to get out there and run sprints and get in the weight room with them. But I think even if you don't do that, when you do, I think it can kind of break down some barriers for you coaching the team, especially at the collegiate level. If they see you in staying in top shape, if they even see you getting in the weight room with them and doing some workouts, there is a little bit of inspiration that does come to the kids. And oftentimes now, especially with social media, you'll see those posts happen.
Did you see Belichick? Did you see Belichick getting under the rack? I don't know if you saw that. Let's go.
I didn't, but again, I'm just, look, you made a great point. I mean, if coaches are able to at least put themselves in the position to do that work, and even if they do it successfully to whatever level they can achieve, I do think there is at least a few that would view a little bit more favorably towards that message that's coming back to them to put their own work in.
All right, Coach, I just made obviously a decision in my mind right now. You'll see that as we keep talking, is that I have to, I'm going to blaspheme and then we'll finish on a positive. So I know that basketball is your game, but this week, right, obviously an American sort of second to Jesus, college football will start this weekend. And I have to say something blasphemous is, I've said this to you before in private, but I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm actually a bigger Nick Saban fan than I am a Crimson Tide fan. I just love Saban. So, like, that's where St. Nick has stopped for now. So I have to tell you, in football, I support that. But I've now just made an executive decision, and this is a totalitarian show for everybody on the set. In basketball, I mean, you can tell us about the program we need to support. I mean, there is only one program we should be supporting, right? I hope you say what I'm thinking.
Well, I'm married to a UCLA Bruin, so if I don't say UCLA, I could get in trouble inside the house. But I was always partial and always wanted to go to, and ironic that we live in this area, University of North Carolina. I've always wanted to be a Tar Heel when I was a kid, and unfortunately that didn't work out then. In hindsight's 2020, it still worked out pretty well. And my alma mater, Seton Hall, has done very well since that time. Man, I tell you, I live near Duke. I'm very close with Coach Izzo at Michigan State. We've become friendly over the years, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Yes, sure.
But I think given my family's history and the ties that we have, almost for as we know, 16 years, it's hard to top what Kansas can offer in terms of basketball. I mean,
There it is.
the rules of American basketball. The rules of American basketball are in the gym. The
Yeah.
actual first rules that Dr. Naismith, who by the way is Canadian, which is an interesting sidebar.
What's that about?
North American. Yeah, hey, Hoser.
Hey, Hoser.
I tell you, I think Kansas is it's an unbelievable place. I mean, there's a whole, especially in social media, the best places to watch a game. Certainly, Cameron Indoor Stadium has a uniqueness about it. Pauley Pavilion has history to it because of the championships that were won there. Same with Rupp Arena, and that's more cavernous. There's just something about Allen Fieldhouse that's, as the kids say, hits different.
Hey, slap different.
Slaps different.
It
slaps different.
Over there.
Yeah.
It's different over here. And I'll tell you something right now. Allen Fieldhouse definitely slaps. It is. I took a loss there on a team that won 26 games, and I was at the University of Tulsa. We won the NIT tournament that year. Very, very good team. Matter of fact, the year before, the current head coach at Kansas was the head coach at Tulsa, had taken Tulsa to the Elite Eight, where that year they lost by a few points to North Carolina to go to the Final Four. So a great program at the time. And we went into Allen Fieldhouse, and I think at the time they had Nick Collison, Kirk Heinrich. I can't even. We had no chance. I mean, it's not that they're on top of you, but you have to be perfect to win in there, and that it's very, very difficult to play because their teams are good, the fan base is super passionate, and I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but when they start chanting and getting the rock chalk deal going at the end of the game,
Yeah.
you pretty much know the game is over no matter how much time is left on the clock. That's how it goes there.
All right, Coach. We now, all right, so breaking news, it's a big announcement for the show. We now support, in whether it be March Madness, wherever in the basketball, but now I've put a lot of pressure on us. I mean, we're going to need to get some merch so that the boys are swagged out. I'll make sure I organize that through you. It's, because we need to get that. We need to represent, and now it is official. I'm so glad you brought it around, because if you didn't say Kansas, I was going to have to can this call. That is who we support in the basketball now, and that is where it's going. Everybody on this show, they just found out at the same time as you. You probably want to get a shot on Senzo to see what he thinks of that. Senzo, just so you know, you support Kansas in the basketball now.
Oh, I'm not mad at that at all. Kansas is serious.
There we go. Coach, there we go. I'm recruiting.
So you just made everybody.
Here's our answer. When Senzo, when he asked that, said all you have to say is rock chalk, baby.
Rock. Is it rock chop?
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
Like chalk on a chalkboard. Rock chalk.
So
that's all.
So he made everybody do the Kansas City Shuffle.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
So when you
rock
get a
chalk.
chance, you can go up and look up on YouTube Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU, and you'll get an understanding of the chant that slowly and gradually builds up at the end of games when the game is over and in the bag, no matter what's on the clock. It's pretty intimidating. It's pretty cool. It's really, really cool. But that's their moniker. That's your answer. Who you pulling
Rock
for
chalk.
over in the States? Rock chalk, baby. Go.
That's on. That's all right. Big news. MKT Show. We're now Rock Chalk Show.
Jayhawks, bro.
Let's go. Coach, let's move over to the guys who get paid exorbitant fees and can slam dunk from like half court. Something happening popped off in the NBA. And it's an interesting world right now, being, that whole agency world with what LeBron and obviously a member or somebody that's involved in this case, that they've completely flipped the script in terms of what an agency looks like and what it should be, and the establishment are. You can let me know how they feel about Rich Paul. But Nerlens Noel, your thoughts on this case, because I've been trying to do some research in terms of him. Of course, for those who don't know, he's got a countersuit against Rich Paul. And your thoughts on just this whole entire case and how it's unraveled.
Well, this has kind of been developing in an interesting, a lot of different pieces to this. When the collective bargaining agreement in the NBA established the pay scale for where your draft position was, you pretty much didn't need an agent once you knew where you were drafted after that rule came into play. In the past, you could negotiate through your agent with the teams for different levels of pay, no matter where you were drafted. But once they kind of slotted those picks into some guarantees and then options after the first, couple of years, which by the way, we're seeing are being exercised by the Supermaxes now to guys like Luka and Trae Young. You needed to make sure you had someone who understood the landscape, who definitely understood the market, and there's got to be a level of trust if you choose to use an agent. Famously, our guy Joel Embiid apparently didn't use an agent in his last negotiation, although some of those things are already built into place, and maybe you're putting some incentives in there and some protection at the back end. But this case with Noel is really interesting because I remember when he had the offer to get the money from Dallas, and it was portrayed that he turned it down, and it was never really said at the time why or who was representing or turning it down. So the hindsight negotiation here to try to recoup some of that money, I'm not sure that that's going to go through for him. I think that opens up a complete can of worms that'll be fought to the tooth. It's not like he's outperformed that even since that time. It would be one thing. It'd be one thing that if he was an all-star or led the league, rebounds and blocks since that time, right? So it's a little bit of spilt milk that's being cried over. It'll probably end up in some sort of lower end settlement. I think there'll be something, as we famously do over here in the States, we try to avoid litigation and settle, cut deals, if you will. And I think this is ripe for that. I just don't see this really going anywhere. Although I will say this, if anything is going to come out of it, it may be just the social damage, the backroom damage that could come potentially a little bit to Clutch Sports and how they're dealing with their clients. Because look, it's no secret, it's LeBron and Rich's build, and they represent pretty much most of the Lakers. This hasn't been publicly stated, but I'm sure it's been thought about. I'm sure LeBron has visions, and so do Rich and Maverick and the entire team of owning a franchise, not just owning the team, but owning the whole franchise. I mean,
well, I mean, Coach, just to jump in there,
so they have to be careful about how they deal with this because they want to maintain that integrity to eventually get to that end goal.
And that's what it becomes about. Listen, Nolan's got his money as well, $27 million. I think maybe the worst owner in. Listen, maybe the worst owner in American sports right now, outside of Washington's Washington football team owner. I mean, Dolan is some guy. He just paid an extremely injury-prone, erratic player $27 million over 3 years. I mean, let's just talk about that deal just from just a front office. What are we doing, Dolan?
But just to chime in.
Well,
sorry, Senzo's got something for you, Coach. I don't know if you remember Senzo. He's a handsome-faced guy right here. Tuffy face, he called himself earlier.
He's way better looking than I am. You should put him more.
I don't know. You at 50, if you look like him at 50, Senzo, good for you.
Drinking water and minding his own business.
But go ahead, Senzo.
A lot of it, right? Spot on. A lot of water. Me and Tom Brady drinking a gallon of water a day.
Gallon? Gee whiz, 3 liters. But no, like from even at his time at the 76ers, like he used to express his dissatisfaction quite a bit. So I genuinely, I'm not surprised.
Like, Coach, we are who we are, right? Like, why is Dolan paying this guy? We know the personality, with all due respect to him, is erratic, and he's had 2 big Achilles injuries. We know he dropped did he not drop in the draft because of his college injuries?
Yeah, he was.
Dolan, what are we doing here, pal?
He was forecasted to go first, and then he ended up going 6th.
There's an interesting feeling in basketball as it relates to what we call the 5-man, the center, the big man, right? It's not traditional as it was in the past. It's certainly not Shaquille O'Neal. It's definitely not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, heck, in some ways, even though he wasn't a 5-man, the power forward's not even Karl Malone. I mean, and let alone maybe the greatest power forward of all time, and guy that I got a chance to meet when he was a freshman in college, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was
Mr. Nice Guy.
Tim Duncan was a freshman at Wake Forest, where I got my first job out of school, being a chance to be a coach on that staff, and just kind of same unassuming player that he is, but the talent and the ability, the game has changed a little bit, and you don't have these traditional size players. So in some ways, teams are going to be shaped by the style of play that their coach chooses to employ, whether that's like Houston used to be before the breakup of everyone recently, shoot 53s a game. Certainly, there's an influx of analytics saying to take a 3 rather than a mid-range 2. That's the big thing. Like if you shoot the ball in between 20 feet and 5 feet, it's like you're chastised. Now, if it goes in, it's a good shot. So I don't understand why, everyone can't take the shot. Some guys aren't good at it. But as it relates to Nerlens Noel, there needs to be some level of experience on a team, on a roster, in my opinion, that can rebound, block shots, and do a specific job that's not related to scoring. The Warriors have almost famously done this recently with guys like Andrew Bogut and even Festus Ezeli at one point.
Yeah,
Kevon
Javal
Looney is an undersized guy. Like you take a role and you take a pretty good amount of money to do it, and there's not a lot of pressure on you other than to stay healthy. And that's where you bring up the biggest point in a guy that doesn't have a history of great health. There's the big gamble. What that says to me is there aren't a lot of guys out in that market that they can fit into that slot. The whole NBA is being run right now by your payroll. It's just unequivocally being run by your payroll. Can you fit 3 guys into the top ends? And can you get some mid-level exemptions? Can you get some 1 year? And can you really do a good job developing your young guys, Luka, Trey, before they become $33 million guys, right? So that's the balance. And to me, in the bigger scheme of things, $9-10 million a year, while it's life-changing and generation and second generation changing for anyone else in the world on any level, this is what the market bears. And some may say that's a bargain. I think you make a great point that it could be better, but this may also be indicative of the fact that, keep in mind, Dolan as the owner may not have the most stellar record,
No,
but
he does.
His front office and his head coach are starting to do a very good job right now of putting right pieces in place for Coach Thibodeau to coach the team. And look, I don't need to tell you guys, I don't think this is worldwide. New York is starving for the Knicks to take the Mecca. Talked about Kansas being there's nothing better than the Garden. And that's not just because I grew up in the Northeast in the original Big East and was in that building oftentimes. But they need and look, the franchise is still worth the most in the world as far as basketball goes. So it's still New York. It always will be. They need to fill a spot. So the pressure's on him, I think, unequivocally just to stay healthy and fill that role.
You just made a great point, because I've always been wondering, and I hadn't thought of it, of course, from this sort of high level thinking of, I was so interested in JaVale McGee's always got a job, and kind of what you've just described is you are paid that money to do, rebound, the grunt work. And that's a really great point I'd never thought about, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Look, JaVale McGee got that job to a gold medal.
Oh,
they added him on the team in the international game because you can take the ball off the rim. The rules are a little bit different. It kind of favors a guy like JaVale. Now, they ended up not needing JaVale extensively or really at all to win the gold medal. But look, that guy, I think, has 3 championship rings right now. I mean, he fills that role and has filled it very well. And this is a guy, early in his career, that didn't really project that way. Matter of fact, it was quite the opposite. There's famously a part of Shaquille O'Neal's media run of Shaqtin' a Fool, where JaVale McGee became the central figure. He's
I remember that.
Outgrown that. It was good theater and it was funny. Surely not for him at his expense, but he's done a tremendous job. I mean, I got a chance to see that firsthand, covering the Warriors here recently. He filled that role, as he liked to say, the dunker spot, the spot on the floor where you're near the rim and you're a little bit below the backboard in short space. And when the ball comes downhill into the lane and gets thrown up above the rim, you catch it and you dunk it, or you catch the ball, take a dribble and dunk it. That's all you have to do. And then at the other end, as you mentioned, blocking shots, as we say, rim protecting.
Yeah.
It became a little bit of a thing here recently in the last few years because, again, if it's not a 3, it's a layup or a dunk. Well, you better get someone that's at the rim to make that a little bit harder, and maybe even 2 guys, so you have 12 fouls to give if you can't stop the ball.
Hey, Coach, so I want to see some rough and tough.
Be a place for the big guy.
Yeah, I want to see a little bit. Let's go back
you're-
to that. I
you're-
want to
yeah.
see a bit of. Let's get in the
Bad
paint.
boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get in that because right
Yeah,
now
give-
it's
give-
villains.
You want Rick Mulhorn. You want the Rick Mulhorn, Bill Laimbeer. You're Detroit Pistons.
The
fan.
Pistons.
You just outed yourself.
Let's
that's
go.
you're old school Pistons guy.
like, I mean, is it 10-pin bowling or basketball? What are we doing here? Let's get some physical contact. You know what I mean? Let's operate in the paint as well. That's a part of the game. I'm totally with you, Coach. Speaking of a big man and something that, and before I come to you, Coach, I'll just quickly bring Senzo in here, is that something that's so interesting to me since I've been young is in American sports is they retire jerseys, you know, and I come from a place where in football, you don't retire it unless it's Paolo Maldini.
You've done something like truly like once in a lifetime.
Like it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Or like if somebody dies in that shirt, they retire. Like that's the kind of moment it has to be. I mean, we saw with Mwamba, we saw it. But like the best example I would say, and the biggest one we know about is the Maldini one.
Yeah.
Cesare Maldini was the greatest Milan player of all time.
But also Johan Cruyff in Holland.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't really have I'm talking about this is a different level. Is Cesare Maldini is the guy. Not only is he the greatest player, he's the coach who plays his son at 16. His son goes on to be possibly the greatest
legend.
defender of all time. Then you retire the jersey. And just Senzo, your thoughts on jersey retirement and your thoughts towards it in general.
No, like you see the way you put it, and as well, Paolo Maldini only was a one-club man, and he didn't wear any other number. So throughout his career, wore number 3. So it gives it that special meaning. I mean, because if they just did it like all willy-nilly and helter-skelter in football, there'd be a lot of players, lots of players that would be sitting with jersey retirements. So, and also it actually means something.
Like, Coach, and this is where I'd bring you in, and I'd say, look, Kevin Garnett has just had his number retired, right? And I'll let you go in a bit. And for me, it's like, hey, anything is possible, by the way, just so you know. Like, I'm all in. KG, great. Celtics, great. But is he even considered in the top 5 greatest players for the Celtics? Number 1 is my question. My second question becomes, he was there for 4 years.
Only one championship.
He won 1 chip. Like, what are we doing here? Unless I'm reading it wrong, Coach, and the culture in the Commonwealth sports is all off. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Kevin Garnett, legend of a player, but retired jersey at the Celtics?
At the Celtics, dude.
Come on, Coach.
Part of the original super team.
This is an interesting one. The Celtics have the most retired jerseys, I think, in all of professional sport now, with KG, I think, being the 23rd, if I'm correct. So there's some pride in the franchise and what it stands for in American basketball and all of basketball, really. Obviously, the iconic green and white jersey. And this goes back even before the days of Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and those runs that they had in the 80s. And their parameters have been, with the exception of Reggie Lewis, who tragically and unfortunately passed away after having a great Boston career at Northeastern University and becoming a Celtic, and well on his way to being a guy who would most likely have been a part of some championship runs. I don't know if they actually would have won. But having a title is kind of the parameter for the Celtics to retire jerseys. Now, take all that out, and we're just talking in theory right now. And I love where you're going with this, because I was fortunate, as we just said before, to coach at UCLA for a few. UCLA famously has 11 national championships. They don't hang Final Four banners at UCLA.
Thank you.
You only hang a banner when you win a championship. Now that's an old sentiment that has held up, and through the evolution of generations from the 70s, 80s to 90s, 2000s, right? So, but in the same token, the Celtics are only retiring jerseys if you win a championship. Now, they happen to have the most championships in NBA history as it is, so a lot of opportunities and an unbelievable amount. You go through the list, the players that now, as it relates to KG, I don't know what brought this on now to want to retire the number. I don't know what drove it, other than the fact that there's a reflection of the fact this is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. His drive, his leadership, his defensive ability and mindset, second to none almost in the entire game. But he spent the majority of his career with Minnesota. Teams don't care where else you go; they care what you do for them. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I love where you're going with this because, at least in the collegiate side, you usually get your jersey retired at a place where you've made a tangible impact that can pretty much last and stand the test of time. That defines the school, that defines the conference, that defines an era, a generation. Like, look, if you win a national championship in college basketball, you're only there for 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. You have a finite amount of time. If you're able to make that impact, maybe you put yourself in that position. The KG to the Celtics one is, other than being there for a short amount of time and winning that championship with, as we said, the original super team, bringing, Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and free agents together. I just think it sets an interesting precedent. So Jason Tatum wins a championship. He's going to say, well, I should get my jersey retired at some point too. I think you'd walk in a dangerous line with the future generations if you just kind of had spent a short amount of time at a team, win one championship.
Coach, what's
earn
next?
the right to be a great player.
But
I'll tell you
what do we do next? Do we retire the milkman's bicycle for delivering the milk enough times over 10 years? Like, where are we going? I love Kevin Garnett, and it's not about him. It's about the precedent. And I think you've said it. Coach, now I know you're a hugely important man and you've got a wife who probably still loves you and respects you. Do you have any time to stay with us? Because I really want to keep you around after the break to keep talking about a few other points. To close, Senzo, what you got, pal?
No, I know.
We got a little bit.
Coming from a Laker, I know why they retired his jersey. Because they beat the Lakers and Kobe Bryant was the reigning MVP. So I think
it's that East Coast, West Coast vibe, Coach? Is that still a real thing?
Well, let me tell you, KG still resonates with the younger kids, the younger players.
Yeah.
He's still very, very influential. I mean, there's a little bit more to this retirement than just what past Celtics have done. He's got some status right now that can really help that franchise get solidified. And look, he earned it by doing what they wanted to do, win the championship.
And he's on the show, isn't he?
He's
Coach,
done well.
He's got the show. What's the show called?
Yeah, he's done well in social media. He's had a few different shows, and
he's a great presenter. Handsome.
Yeah, he's. And I'll tell you something else about KG too. There have been a lot of coaches that have gone on, had time with him, and to a man, they all say the same thing. There may not be a more competitive player they've ever been around at any level, anywhere than this guy. This guy is built different. You can say they don't make it like that anymore, but he's got a mentality. He's got a mentality that does warrant a once in a generation type of happening. I don't see him in the form of anyone else in the league right now that can perform at that level, both on offense and on defense, and be a willing defensive captain in the sense that he was. I mean, this is a guy, keep in mind, this is a guy in training camp. When he's a superstar player, they want to limit the repetitions and the potential for injuries, right? And they're going up and down the floor, and he's on the sideline running up and down by himself, acting like he's on the floor, calling it out and calling the defensive assignment. I mean, I'd say this guy's different. So,
all right,
that sense, you can warrant it. You can build up more of the case, but I think in theory, what you're saying is spot on. Like, you got to really walk a fine line here in terms of what numbers go up in the rafters.
It's a shot at the Celtics.
It does mean something.
It's a shot at the Celtics. Like, hey, it's not about KG. He's all time. Hey, Celtics,
shot at the Lakers.
Get it together. All right, Coach. We'll see you in a little bit. We're gonna take we got to pay the bills in the break. You know what I'm saying? All right, MKT Show. We got the coach. He's gonna stay with us. That may affect his marriage because his lady probably, if I was that handsome, my lady would want me around more often. But sorry.
Looks like a movie director.
Sorry, Mrs. Keating. We just need the husband for another half an hour. Coach, great stuff. We'll see you on the other side. The MKT Show. See you in a bit. Good call. Hey, this is massive broadcasting. I don't care what anyone says. That is the way to let your listeners know they're on the right track.
It's like clockwork now.
It really, it really, really is. All right, we still got the coach with us. Coach, shout out to you for being able to stay with us. Incredible stuff. As we get back into it, Senzo, I know you got some stuff for the coach. What you got, pal?
Yes, coach. Sorry, just before I ask you the question, speaking of America, players at the US Open will now, so some breaking news, so players at the US Open will now have access to resources aimed at supporting their mental health, the United States Tennis Association has announced.
All right. I mean, it's a different time. Your thoughts, coach? It is a changing landscape. I mean, back in the day, you just coach and go home.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about this one, and actually did reach out to someone involved at the UTSA. The current group that I work with now has a direct impact on this. We've developed something very unique, very special, very impactful in this well-being space. The company's name is Task Human. A little shameless plug for my guys.
Oh, hey,
here.
let's talk about it. Task Human
or
Task Human, by the way. It'll be tough for us because we don't do the we do the task 2A.
I gotta get I'm a New York guy. I get chastised in my own house for saying orange and
yeah.
Nevada,
Hey, New York guy.
Like,
hey, Joey. Hey, gotta move, gotta go. Where's the mama? Hey, Joey. That's New York for you.
Our group at Task Human, depending on where you're at, it's all the same. It's all spelled the same way. It's all spelled the same way in the App Store. You can get it in Google Play or in the Apple Store. But what we've done is we've essentially invented Uber for humans. And I say that in this sense, is, over here in the States in Uber, where we've replaced the taxi system, there are people who have said they're available to drive you where you want to go. That's the Uber setup. What we've done is, in a worldwide sense, taken coaches, providers who have a level of expertise in certain areas related to wellness. And that wellness can be mental, physical, marital, parental. It can be pet wellness, financial, spiritual, anything that relates to how you feel in a non-clinical, non-therapeutic way. Just a general daily thought process. Like, I feel a certain way, I need to talk to somebody. We've taken this into an application where, in that Uber sense, you can see a person after you search for how you feel or search for what you're looking for, and we match that with that certain query. And you can talk to that person instantly through video call with one touch of a button. No phone number, no email, all within the application itself. If they're not available right now, it'll show you their future availability. You can book them for one-on-one sessions through your phone or through your tablet. I think this is game-changing for a lot of things, but as it relates to what came up with recently with athletes under stress, under pressure, like, look, I was in college basketball for 25 years. There's an expectation that you get a scholarship or you're on the team, that you show up, you do what your coaches ask, you have give and forth, back and forth, you have give and take. I prided myself on the relationships I have with my players to try to do more for them academically, socially, in the community. We were big on community service. We were big on etiquette classes. I had my team go to a formal sit-down dinner with all of the formal place settings that they may encounter as they get older, either at a job interview or a wedding or a formal black tie dinner, because they should be in those positions. But do they know how to handle themselves? I got a story for you,
so, Coach. Sorry, it's to cut you off, but I've got a story for you there. I went to something called Cotillion, by the way. Not sure if you call it that. It is a finishing school for gentlemen. I don't know if that's available for your guys. Look up Cotillion that side. Incredible to hear that you did this.
Culture.
Well, it's just a point. It's just one thing. I was very intent on life skills, right?
Yes.
We deem them as life skills. Like, look, it's part of growing up and figuring out, but you don't want to just put, in the case I'm using, basketball players in a position to go out and play and compete and be visible with their students. You want them to be natural leaders in all walks of life. So as it relates to what I'm framing for Task Human is, we're all patients, as I like to say, at the Google doctor right now, right? If something's wrong or doesn't feel right, we go to the Google doctor. We do. And what does the Google doctor do? The Google doctor do what it sets out to do. It aggregates everything that's floating out there on the web, to the tune of, if you typed in anything had to do with how you feel, you'd get over 1 billion results. What you're not going to get is someone to press a button and talk to. That's what we've put in our proprietary search engine, with our algorithms that can machine learn your queries and get you to a person that we have carefully curated. Not only do we interview and audition these folks to make sure they're able to work on the platform, they have to pass a double peer review within the community of providers already in the system. So it's not competitive. It's not an ad lead to when you search something, you're going to have all these coaches hounding you. It's all user driven to get what you need, when you need it, and how you need it. And it's not solicitive. The coaches are there and made available because the community that we've built and are building is so strong to help others. This is something where our goal is to be on 3 billion phones, because that's how many there are in the world. If you have a phone, you should have access to well-being. It should be a fundamental right that you have access to well-being.
So it's international. So you are saying
absolutely.
That it is available to me in South Africa. If I don't mean to take the fun out of it, but if my next girlfriend, when she leaves me, I'm feeling a little down, because what tends to happen is that the double choc ice cream, that effect probably lasts for about a week. That helps, and then you get sad again. So you're saying, if I was in South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, feeling however I'm feeling, I'm under pressure, I got to study, it's locked down, we understand this, I could access this in South Africa?
Do you have an iPhone or an Android phone?
I got an Android phone. I got a cover for it because I dropped my last one. I got an Android.
You can download it in the App Store. Now, what we're doing is putting this through companies and enterprises right now to get it to all employees at the company's expense. But you can use it as a consumer right now, still in the store. And Since I know a guy, I got a guy. I'll give you a link for it to give you a spin at it, give you a whirl at it.
Yeah.
And see how seamless and easy the user experience is. We like to say the UX is, and the interface, the UI.
That's tech talk.
Our
Tech.
engineers,
UX.
our engineers have done a tremendous job. Our head of product is also our CEO, Ravi Swaminathan, a dear friend and mentor to me, and I'm really honored that he added me on full time onto this team a little over a year ago. I was one of the first advisors because I was using my connections in the collegiate space to bring those strength coaches in, and we started it in fitness. We're expanding this out slowly. We've now put financial wellness on there, spiritual wellness, pet wellness has become a thing. Your pet's driving you crazy. You need help with that. And you can't just go on Google and you can't just watch YouTube videos because they're not necessarily for you. They're for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you where we're in APAC. We're working in the Balkans right now. We're certainly have a footprint in India, China. And look, there's nothing wrong with us going to find providers and coaches in the African nations that can help locally, but also worldwide. What we're doing is we're hiring in the gig economy, if you will. We're paying these coaches on what we say over here at 1099 tax basis, where they're part-time employees, but they make themselves available and they get paid when they're working. When people call them on hourly rate to the minute that they're used. All they have to do, like an Uber driver, is go on and say, I'm available. And they can be anytime, anywhere, no cost of acquisition for their consumers. We'll do all that. We're matching people up and giving people the wellness that they fundamentally deserve worldwide.
It's a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. Coach, just for lastly, because we've got obviously a massive podcast that needs to be listened to everywhere on Spotify, cliffcentral.com, the Cliff Central app, or wherever you get your podcast. Could you just spell that? Where
Sure.
you guys get a hold? Obviously, are you on the socials? I mean, that's where most of the kids are and the human beings. Let's maybe just spell the name of the company nice and slowly for idiots like me, Coach.
So the timing is spot on, as we like to say, because we're getting ready to officially launch the product and the company here in the upcoming weeks, less than a month. Task Human is all one word: TASKHUMAN. Task Human, all one word. I'll make sure that you guys have more visibility of it. We're certainly trying to do our job to get everyone on it as much
Coach,
as we can. And if your company is
in
interested in supporting it, reach out.
Yeah, it'll be in the description of the podcast and on YouTube. We'll put that in
Awesome.
Following the show. And Coach, I mean, that is an awesome thing, but your time is so precious to me. I quickly want to move on to something. Speaking about wellness, number one, I mean, these two are probably related. We'll finish off on the vaccine front, but I want to start with something that's happening in college and the collegiate sport. And now I know we're only talking about football in this sense for now, but we've seen something called the Alliance being formed. And maybe you could explain to people, the college system is so different to any other education system around the world, but America, for all, like, I'm not one of these people that bash America. Like, innovation is great. It's a great country. It's still in the Western world, whether you like it or not, probably the greatest country with the greatest freedoms and opportunities afforded to most people in the West. Nowhere is perfect. But America has a college system that is out of this world, and something massive has just happened. Could you maybe talk to us about what we've just seen in terms of this merger called the Alliance?
Well, let's not make any mistake about it. It's a business. That's a good and bad thing when it comes to college and athletics. And clearly, that business has been booming by the media landscape, inflating the numbers going back to these schools and the Power Five, if you like, as we say over here, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, and the Pac-12 being that Power Five. Look, this has been a backroom sentiment for years, decades, that there shouldn't be this sharing of the wealth, if you will. That the top schools should have their own ability to do that. And by and large, football has done that with the bowl system and the college football playoff. College basketball still runs the March Madness tournament. That tournament funds 99% of the other sports that are in existence on college campuses. So that's why basketball is so important. Now, as it relates to what's happening in Texas and Oklahoma, starting this seismic shift that's going to probably just jumble everything at some point, there'll almost be a draft of sorts, and they'll have in my estimation, it's headed towards 4 regional conferences with a finite group of schools if they can get the structure of the college basketball tournament figured out. It's very dicey. It's hard to just up and go, which is why they haven't done it. With regards to the alliance in the Big Ten and the ACC and the Pac-12, yeah, it's a little bit of a counter move to what happened with the SEC and the Big 12. And they're basically just trying to protect their own interests before TV shuts them out. And this whole thing about, you know, a non-contractual agreement to play each other pretty much already was in place anyway. So this is just kind of forcing the hand to play more of those games, right? So all this is doing is getting to where there's less of the payments out to the smaller schools. Here's the thing: what happens in basketball. This is kind of well known, but maybe not as widespread. You know, the mid to lower level schools in college basketball, and some of them at the bottom levels, exclusively rely on these games outside of their conference, as we like to call them, buy games, guarantee games.
Yeah,
where you play a team at their place and they pay you exorbitant amounts of money to basically lose, so that you can fund your own program, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get TV money like they do with their conference, or even make the tournament and incur the units that come back to support you in your conference. There's an ecosystem there. And what this is basically doing is slowly potentially shutting out the very bottom of that when you have one less game to play and pay someone to go beat, where you're also now playing a like-minded team. You'll get the revenue when that team's at your home arena, and they'll get the revenue unless you go into a shared agreement of when the game is at their arena, and then obviously whatever the agreements are with TV. What they're trying to do is say, look, we have these marquee games already set on the schedule. We don't have to create them in these arenas as neutral site games, as they like to say. So we're going to have Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12 having these early games, you know, when the football's wrapping up as we head into January. All it's doing is to try to create a available pool of games for TV to choose from, for streaming to choose from, for media outlets to choose from that maybe are not set with ESPN. This is a counter move to try to protect the content and the programming against what ESPN is trying to do with the SEC and the Big 12.
And now the question becomes, what does this mean for the rest of college sport? Because ultimately, you know, it is the king is football, but I mean, basketball is coming, and you know, it is what it is. What does this mean for? Let me just say, let's just say I'm on the ladies volleyball team, and our greatest rival is outside the conference. At what stage does this sort of it's politicking, right? It's financial, it's business, and it's politicking. At what stage does it affect the lacrosse player who's on a scholarship, not playing the best lacrosse team? Or is it just, hey, football's king, get the hell out of here with the rest of it?
Well, let's not dismiss the fact that this is also coming up at a time where name, image, and likeness is providing the rightfully so monies back to the athletes, right? So there's still a lot of weeding out to do and how that's going to be structured. It's a little bit unstructured right now, and it's kind of one-off deals, but there's going to eventually have to be some level of organization, whether it's unionization on the players' part, or whether it's a pre-existing agreement between the conferences or the schools and the athletes themselves. Look, again, it's money changing hands. There's a lot of guys who have worked in the NCAA structure for a long amount of time right now, making a lot of money, that are trying to protect that before they don't have the chance to or don't need to anymore. So this is definitely tied into that somehow. Amateurism is being redefined, if not moved out of the way as it relates to college athletics. However, your sport still has a tie into that, whether it's tennis, whether it's baseball. Hey, look, Jay, here's something else I know we were going to chat about maybe for our next show we can expand on. J.R. Smith just completed a professional basketball career, never played a college minute, was going to go to University of North Carolina, ended up getting drafted out of high school in the Pelicans. And now he's going back to school to play golf, where he's apparently a very, very good golfer and maybe has some pro aspirations. They just opened up another window for a look. What's to say now in theory that a baseball player can't go back and play basketball when he's older? Well, that's either good or bad. That either means you're smart. That's either smart that you want to keep it in the middle of the fairway, or that's bad that you're hitting out of the weeds all the time.
Well, I just got to have, listen, golf is a gentleman's game. You've always got to have plan B. So me and JR, I mean, shout out to JR Smith, though. And I hear what you're saying there, Coach. I mean, I love what you're saying there. And I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but as you can see, me and JR probably go back to college. Senzo's got something for you, and he's got something to say there.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit earlier. So what do you think of the evolution of basketball in college and in the professional sphere? And do you think offenses are getting better or defenses are getting worse? And how do you see that? Where do you see it in the next 10 years?
Well, I think a lot of where basketball has gone has been driven by the product on the floor to serve the media rights and the viewers. You know, it's become more entertainment more than anything else at the professional level.
Yeah.
The interesting part is they're paying these guys exorbitant amounts of money, not just to be entertainers or de facto entertainers, but to try to win championships. I mean, you know, to have the money to go back in to be able to build teams and build a brand. Analytics has driven this game recently towards an influx of three-point shots, no matter what position you take, or layups. Houston famously put that on steroids. I think the league has adopted that. In some cases, it doesn't look pretty because some of those guys can't make a three. They're just hoping that it goes in. But look at a guy, I think that a great example of just one player who's adjusted his game. And this is a big guy now who didn't do any of this in high school, in college, and early in his career, and now is on the proficient end of shooting threes is Brook Lopez. Is this the guy who figured out this is how I'm going to stay in the league? The league wants us to shoot threes. And look, we're all analytics guys by nature. Dean Smith, the former rest in peace coach of North Carolina, was probably the innovator of analytics. He used to put up on the board at halftime a PPP, a points per possession. He would keep track of how many possessions were in a half and how many points were scored in those possessions. And as an offensive team, you want it to be above 1 point per possession because it kind of averaged out that way. There was about 40 or so possessions in a half of each game, and you wanted to hit about 80 points a game. So it worked out. One was that barometer. If your offense was above one and the defense was below one, you're probably winning the game. But it gave them a tangible number to shoot for. It was something they could put up in their locker room into what he pushed into a plus point system. There needs to be a whole conversation about what Dean Smith did for analytics before analytics were readily available. But what this has done for the college, for the pro game, and look, we did this when I was coaching. It's simple math. That shot's worth 3. That shot's worth 2. All right. So I only have to shoot 33% from here. I only have to make 1 of every 3 to every 2 of your 4. And we're going to have pretty much the same amount of points when we get to that common denominator of 6, right? Because 2 times 3 is 6. I'm not a math major, but I'm pretty good with numbers. So I mean,
not bad.
As it affects not bad. 2 times 3, I can figure that one out. I think to your question about how the game has evolved, and a lot of things are cyclical. I think that's, look, we touched on a little bit with Nerlens Noel. You're still going to miss probably. Kobe Bryant famously missed the most shots ever for an NBA player. Let's just think about that.
Yeah.
Right. Like if high 40s and 50% is a good percentage for a great player, that means they're missing every other shot they take. Right. Baseball is like this too. Baseball, you can strike out 7 times out of 10 and make the Hall of Fame. That's neither here nor there.
That's changed because people aren't taking steroids anymore.
There's a premium on rebounding the ball. There will always be a premium on rebounding the basketball in the game, no matter what the shots are, no matter how the game evolves. And that's why big guys, because they have the height advantage to be closer to the ball naturally, are always going to be at a premium. So, it's just a matter of how many you want on the floor. And if that big guy can happen to shoot a 3 when drop coverages happen and switches happen and there's mismatches, because really where we need to go with this conversation next time is what it's done to the defense in the NBA. It has completely blown up the defense in the NBA to almost be non-existent in terms of a tactical thought process of how to guard the actions that are coming up in the NBA. It is not anywhere near what it was in the 80s and 90s at all.
Speaking of which, Coach, by the way, we still, I mean, terrible creative team that I got here. I got to try and do everything myself. We might as well, I mean, as though you haven't done enough for kids and society and recruiting and working with Russell Westbrook in college, is we're probably thinking of the layup as a like name for the segment. I mean, it's a working title. It's probably it's pretty easy, as a layup should be when you're 6'5" or and above. Well, what are your thoughts? The layup.
It's interesting because I thought if I ever had a chance to write a book about everything I've done, I was going to title the book "Never a Layup." Just in general. But that doesn't take away from the fact that what we're doing now is all good. Yeah, the layup is the easiest shot outside of a dunk in the game. Those are shots you're trying to get. That means you're doing well if you're getting layups. When I coach the kids, they all want to shoot threes. I say, no, we want to get layups. And what do? We get layups, and we space the floor and figure it out. So you're always trying to get a layup. It means you're in a good place. So
but now
I have no problem with that in theory.
I've just decided I prefer what you're saying now is never a layup. That's much better for the segment. We should probably discuss that off air, but it's good that we worked this out, kind of went through it. Senzo, what you got for the coach, pal?
Coach, yes, I agree with you, because you were speaking about big men earlier, and it ties into my question before, because look at your center now. Your center now is you'd probably want somebody like Nikola Jokic, and he's not a traditional center in the sense of
not at all.
Playing style. It's just his size. But yeah, now if you want a center, you'll probably look to someone like that or somebody like Anthony Davis.
Well, ultimately, look, it's a TV show now, and I know, Coach, that must be like a dagger in your heart. Thank goodness you're not a vampire. But it must be a dagger because, like, ultimately, college is probably where it's still, and maybe even, high school where it's still actually basketball. But the NBA, as you alluded to, it happens with money. It's a TV show with the most freakish athletes perhaps in the world, and I know that probably kills you as a traditionalist, but we need to accept that the NBA maybe is less about basketball, more about the TV show. And if we're going to watch for the fundamentals and all the great stuff you spoke about, we got to watch college ball. I don't know, is that too brutal and pragmatic?
There's a fine line between entertainment and competitiveness, obviously, that exists at the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think it just accentuates the level of athleticism and talent that the best players have to be able to do both. That's very, very difficult to do, to be successful at winning games while also be entertaining. And look, I'm not going to start a whole nother segment on this, but we definitely will talk about it. To me, this is what makes Steph Curry maybe definitely one of, but maybe the greatest guard to ever play, given the circumstance that he's playing in right now. Balancing a high level of expectation on the court from wins and losses, while also balancing an entertainment level that I got a chance to experience firsthand and covering the team after I stopped coaching. I've never been in a gym where anything was about to happen where you can feel the whole arena bracing themselves for it to happen. Whenever Steph shoots a three, you have a feel when it's coming. And this is at the height of it in the old Oracle Arena, not the new one in Chase. We haven't experienced that yet, obviously, because of COVID. But when they were winning those championships with Clay and with Steph, you know the guys they have. When Steph gets on a heater and you feel it coming. And this is a guy now who's also, in the entertainment value, expanded his range from 23.9 to 24 to like 40 feet.
Logo.
We got to get the clip of the Oklahoma City series when they were up by 3, I think, and he just came down and just shot that ball. I didn't even think twice about it. I mean, that's not common, and for him to do that at the level of entertainment, he's bridged the gap between people that want to watch the game for entertainment value and watch the game for basketball value. There are a very, very limited amount of guys that can do that successfully right now. He's doing it and put it on steroids.
I'll tell you who gets no credit. You're talking about being on a heater. He plays with the guy who actually, Coach, I mean, I don't want to be that hot take guy because it's not really my thing. But when Klay Thompson actually gets on a heater, there's never been anything like it. And I love what you're saying. Like, we've seen Klay Thompson. Did he score 60 and a half?
50.
50 and a half. Coach, when that guy gets on a heater and he gets no credit and he takes your best guy, by the way.
And
Hey,
knocks him
I'm
down.
going to, your best guy, I'll see you in the paint.
That's the best backcourt in the
I
history
love
of the
it.
NBA. And also with Steph
I
Curry.
love it. I love where you're going with that. I love it.
But international. Senzo, what you got, Pop?
But I mean, with Steph Curry as well, I mean, he's transcended the sport because look, he's the only unanimous MVP. And also, without Steph Curry, there's no Trae Young. Because that's the new style of point guard these days. So
Yeah, no doubt.
it's
Listen,
crazy.
he's all action and he's fantastic. But listen, Klay Thompson, I see you, and I hope that ACL holds, Coach. I cannot wait once the season gets going. I cannot wait for us to really get into that. Listen, hey, Klay Thompson, phenomenal all-time player. Because hey, listen, I've said enough, Coach. I want to talk about something and finish off, and I want to thank you for being willing to stay on. I know how important your time is. I really, really appreciate that. I just want to finish off on this, is that we now have, you know, this is where it gets interesting now. As you said, with sort of amateurs now getting paid and players in college can get their money, is now it stops just being about an education, developing young men and women, is that we've just seen Peyton Powell perhaps change the authority figure of the NCAA, and they've been teetering for a while. Peyton Powell has now decided that, and this is where sort of philosophy and politics meets real life, is the University of Rutgers, he says, has made COVID vaccine mandatory to attend school and play football. Therefore, I have no other choice but to enter my name into the transfer portal. Now, Coach, before I let you go off on this one, is that now we're entering an interesting time, because for the first time in a long time, I don't want to say ever, because it's never quite that, but we're seeing a young man saying, I'm no longer interested in the education, the opportunity is, I understand that there's money at the end of this. Coach, you're going to close us out. Please, I'd love your thoughts on Peyton Powell and this move and what it means for the shape of the NCAA.
It most likely won't be the last time that this comes up, especially as we enter into the new school year with other sports getting ready to start. It's an interesting time we're in right now to force people to make some decisions about where they're at related to how they're at. And clearly Peyton felt this way. I can't imagine this is the sole reason for this. I will say this though too, just on a outside note, if he's a student athlete or was a student athlete there, it's Rutgers University. It's not the University of Rutgers. And he actually corrected it on his tweet later on. Look, I pride myself on not being too political, if political at all. I'm more commonsensical when it comes to this. This is clearly forcing an interesting divide amongst some people in terms of the mandates of the vaccine and wearing a mask. But everyone is entitled in this country to make their own decisions, and that's one of the beauties of it. Clearly, he's done that. And look, there'll be no shortage of interest for him if he's that type of player to play someplace else in a place that may not have the same type of mandates. So
I hear you there, Coach.
In the end, it's going to be about playing, and if this decision he makes to go, that's the decision he makes. It's hard for me to say one way or the other. I will say this: I'm kind of glad I'm not coaching right now and having a.
It's a different time. It is a different time.
To be alive.
It is a different time. Listen, Bruce Arians said, I don't know if you saw Bruce Arians' interview. He said, listen, I don't give a damn about, there's NFL rules and there's my rules, and I don't give a damn if you're vaccinated or not. You are not leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hotel this season. We are under the same protocol. So it is a different time, Coach, and you're an amazing human being. So, Coach, before we let you go, you'll see there our production guys. We're obviously a big time show, but at Task Human something, or Task Human, you'll have to excuse me because I'm cosmopolitan. So there's the tweet. It says, on our recent Task Human podcast, Task Human Talks podcast, Emily discussed her belief that the small changes we make can lead to big results, and that's important to go slow when looking to have lasting results in health goals. And I think to close off on that, so we can follow at Task Human, at Task Human on the tweet monster. And Coach, we'll definitely put that in the description. And it's been incredible to have you with us, Coach. And I really, really appreciate your time. Coach, you know what? We probably need an hour with you because you just got too much gold.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good for it. Let's make sure we get it set up. And I'm loving to talk more about all these topics. Certainly would love to get more people aware of Tascament because we're making a difference and everyone deserves that right to preventative fundamental wellness. And I'm glad that we're at the forefront of it.
Let's close it on that note. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? We can go out on this two screen here, Jimbo, is the great, I mean, the Keating name rings out in America, but I always admire people that come from dynastic homes who shape and carve their own way out. So, Coach, you're an inspiration in that sense. That you've made
Thank
your
you.
own name. You are your own Keating, and that is fantastic. And R.I.P. to your father, who was a great man and changed many lives at Kansas. So fantastic and an honor to always have you on. I cannot wait for next week. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is MKT. I'm with the coach, Kerry Keating, of course. And this has been an absolute honor. And for today, ladies and gentlemen, the MKT show is the hell out of here.